All right, I think we can start. So happy World Tourism Day, everyone.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much for being here. So today is World Tourism Day, actually. This is why we decided to start today. Super important day because today's theme, like this year's theme, is tourism and peace. Super important topic, especially now. Hi. You here for the class? Great. Welcome. We just started. Coming in. Don't worry. So again, happy World Tourism Day. This is a very important day. So yeah, so welcome. The other classes, so this is how I thought about these classes. 4 classes once a month, okay? And for the people who will attend it, attend all 4 of them, there will be a UNLV certificate. So I think it's pretty cool, and I appreciate you being here. For those who don't know me, I'm Marta Soligo. I'm an assistant professor in the College of Hospitality at UNLV. The idea of these classes is to give you an overview of tourism. So we're going to start with some very simple questions, such as, who is a tourist? Why do people travel, right? So very simple questions. And then we're going to go on with what is, like, I think that the next time we're going to focus more on the destination. And this time we're going to focus, and then on communities and so on. If some of you attended my classes already, you're going to see some similarities, but just for today, basically. All right, so today we are going to study tourism motivations. Do you know what tourism motivations are? So we're going to answer the question, why do people travel? And we are going to start with some definitions by the World Tourism Organization that now is called UN Tourism. Some of you already heard these definitions, but it's good to remind us about it. And also, I will ask you to do some little exercise during the course. So let's see how UN Tourism defines some concepts. First of all, who is a visitor? It sounds pretty straightforward, but there are some specific characteristics according to UN Tourism. So a visitor, is a traveler, someone who travels, taking a trip to a main destination outside her usual environment, okay? So a visitor taking a trip outside their usual environment. What is my usual environment? What is your usual environment?
Your hometown.
Las Vegas, right? Okay. For less than a year, for any main purpose, business, leisure, or other personal purpose, other than to be employed by a resident entity in the country or place visited. What does it mean? This is crucial. So a visitor is someone who, let's talk about leisure. I go on vacation for a week to Paris. I want to visit. Am I going for a I'm a visitor, and I'm going there for leisure, visiting museums, shopping, culture, whatever. Business too. And we are talking about any kind of business rather than to be employed by a resident entity in the country visited. What does it mean? That I'm from, let's say I live in Italy, and I work for Ferrari. Okay, do we all know the cars Ferrari? Okay, I work for Ferrari. And there is and I work for Ferrari in Italy. And I'm a manager there, I wish. for the money. Probably the money will be good. I don't know. So I'm a manager for Ferrari, and I come to Vegas because Ferrari sends me here because there is a big car show event at the convention center. I come here for a week and I go back to my workplace and report to my bosses. Am I a visitor? Yes, I am. Okay, I am. Because I work for Ferrari. I was in Italy. I'm in Italy. I live in Italy. I leave my usual environment and I stay here less than a year. Let's say that I'm from Italy, but let me think about it. But tell me an American corporation. But okay, General Motors. Yeah, General Motors hires me to move here. And I live here and I'm here for General Motors, meaning that my employer is a resident entity here. Am I a visitor? No. My employer is American and I'm moving to America. I'm not a visitor, okay? I'm a visitor, I'm a business. Tourist is called only if the entity, if I don't come here to work permanently, for example, or for an extended, if I stay here for a year and a half, I work for UNLV, right? As I told you, I'm an assistant professor at UNLV. For those who were not here, we have some programs where maybe you are from Italy and you come here and you conduct research for a postdoc or for like a fellowship for a year and a half, 2 years. Am I a visitor? No, because it's more than a year. Okay, so this is don't go crazy over it, okay? But it's a very important distinction, okay? We almost go inside the visa realm, right? Bureaucracy. If I'm on a work visa, if I'm on an immigrant visa, or even non-immigrant visa, I'm not really. I can be a visitor, but it really depends, okay? Now, who is a tourist? A tourist is also called overnight visitor if their trip includes an overnight stay. So I am a tourist. I'm considered a tourist technically by UN Tourism or in academia or whatever, if it includes an overnight stay. So if after this class, I go to the Death Valley, I saw Zabriskie Point, I take a couple of pictures, and by 10 p.m., I'm back home in Vegas. Am I a tourist? No, because I don't spend the night there, okay? I'm not a tourist because I don't spend the night there. If I go to Death Valley, I spend the night in the fancy lodge there. Again, I wish one day I will. It's always so expensive, the lodge there, so I was never able to do that. One day I will, and I come back tomorrow. I stay basically 24 hours out of my house. Am I a tourist? Yes. What am I if I go? How am I called if I go for 6 hours to Death Valley and come back?
Visitor.
No. A visitor, I know you're right. I am still a visitor. A visitor is an umbrella. A tourist is a visitor too, because a visitor is someone, is the general definition for someone who spend less than a year out of their residence place. So a visitor is an umbrella. And I can be defined as an overnight visitor or a tourist. See, overnight visitor, it's a tourist. What am I called if I go for 6 hours? A guest? No, because no.
Tourist.
The tourist stays overnight. Nope.
A day traveler?
Excursionist.
Oh, no.
That wasn't on my card.
It's not me, it's the United Nations World Tourism Organization. It's not me, okay?
Okay.
Not my fault. It's okay. But look how cool are you gonna look now with your friends when they tell you, I was a tourist and I went to Death Valley. You're like, no, you are an excursionist. The United Nations say so.
Slow down.
All right, you are just an excursionist. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's a very, because, and I can tell you already, because we all know where we are going here, right? Because our goal with the Tourism Business Igniter is to see the West Side becoming a cultural tourism destination, right? And
Absolutely.
you don't know how many people told me, okay, cool, tourists, cool, amazing. What about the people on the other side of town that have never been here? And I know, because now that I know the West Side, I'm spending time with Vegas people all the time, telling them how cool is the story of the West Side. Those are excursionists. So that's a market that we can think about. Something super cool that I'm hearing from all of you, actually, talking to you, schools. School trip are basically, like, you know, they have schools coming to the West Side. That's a very good, like, excursionist, little excursionists, right, coming here. So think, when it comes to tourism, always remember there are tourists, there are visitors, is the umbrella of both. Same day visitors, excursionists, overnight visitors, tourists.
So like
Yes.
you're on a cruise and you take an excursion for just an extended amount of time.
You are
So
still a
that's what-
tourist.
yeah, so it's like
You're
block
still a
of time.
tourist.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You can go to the
But
sea.
you know, like you say, excursions, you go horseback riding or zip lining or whatever.
Right.
So that time. Okay.
Yeah,
I
but
got it.
like officially for the United Nations World Tourism Organization, you is called an excursionist.
All right. I got it.
So you can go, if you're on a cruise, you can go to the CEO and say, you got that wrong. Don't call it excursion. I'm kidding. But yeah, okay. Tourism versus excursion.
All right.
So this is very important. Just keep in mind when you think about it, because sometimes it just, and especially after COVID, we see like people could not travel that much. So we saw like a bunch of places such as Red Rock Canyon being literally like it's also called like within your state and your country. So, but next door tourism, whatever. But the domestic tourism is not that accurate, can be in some cases. Now, let's try to answer the question, why do people travel? Why do people travel? Because it's very important, right? We're going to study in the next few, we have 4 classes, and I'm going to guide you through everything in these first 4 classes. But we have to start with a very simple question, because we want to understand our tourists. We're going to have time to talk a lot about the West Side as a destination. But let's talk about, why do people travel? So I'm going to give you two very complex definitions that in the end are very easy. There are push and pull factors. Let's see the hard definition, and then I'm going to make it easy. Push are the internal motives or forces that cause tourists to seek activities to reduce their needs. I'm going to explain this in a second. Pull is destination-generated forces and the knowledge that tourists hold about a destination. And this is the moment, Elias, you arrive in the right moment, where I say, I have to do a little dance here. I'm sorry, I'm kidding, John. No, but look at me. I have to do a little dance here. Push factors. Look at me. Are the factors that push me, okay? When I'm in the class, literally at UNLV with my student, I stand up and I start dancing, but it's fine. Don't do that. I'm kidding. You can do it like my little dance. Push that. So it's Marta's motivations, mine that from here, push me there. So I am tired and I need relaxation. I'm going in the mountain. It's Marta's motivation. It's Marta's. I have all my family is in Italy, I'm going to Italy because my reason pushed me there. Okay, push me there. I love beach volley, and I'm going to Manhattan Beach for a tournament. It's me. Marta loves beach volley, and I go there. Pull, and we're going to see that in a second. Pull factors, again, little dance here, are the factor of the characteristic of the destination that attracts me. Opposite, push and attractive. Meaning, for example, the destination is very cheap, attracts me. The destination has a lot of food festivals. I'm going there for that reason. The destination has an amazing civil rights history. It attracts me. Okay, so push and pull. Push is me, is Marta, okay? And pull is the characteristics of the destination. Let's start with a list, a general list of push factors. Do you remember what are push factors? Are the me, why I want to travel. So if we want, when you're going to be super amazing tourism entrepreneurs, all of you working in tourism, and you're going to study, and Deidre and Katie and all the other people are going to study, who are my tourists? What pushes my tourists to come here? Okay, because there is a cultural reason, right? Because the historical reasons, right? Those are the characteristics. So push factors are origin related. So origin related means me, I'm the origin. Why does the individual want to leave their house and travel? Okay, what pushes them to leave their house and travel? And there are intrinsic mind motivators such as fulfill prestige, increase social status. Do you have that friend who keeps posting pictures traveling around the country on a cool yacht, on a cool car? You're like, are you doing that to show off, or you're really enjoying that, right? And maybe they just see a Lamborghini parked there, and they take a picture. I'm like, that's not yours, okay? Yeah. So again, the lists are endless of motivational data, but I'm telling you some. We use this term, which is very interesting. I'm a sociologist, by the way. I'm a sociologist of tourism and conspicuous consumption, which is a term used by Thorsten Veblen more than a century ago to talk about the fact that consumers buy expensive items to display wealth and income rather than to cover the real needs of the consumers. So the sociology of leisure, of tourism, is rooted in the sociology of leisure. And one of the main topics in the sociology of leisure is conspicuous consumption, that before Veblen called conspicuous leisure, right? People who in those years at the beginning of the 1900s could afford those clothes and a car, they were wealthy and they like to show off. So we see a lot that showing some, especially with social media, right? So the next time you see that friend, you write under hashtag conspicuous consumption. And you look so cool. And they don't. Can be enhancing new relation, gaining knowledge, exchange traditions. I want to learn new activities. I really want to go to Japan because I'm fascinated by that culture and I want to learn about it. This is a group of Italian people, the big trend. So I love to cook, I love pasta, and I'm going to Tuscany to learn how to make main motivation. I love to learn more about it. Maybe I've been studying French for a while and I want to go to France because I want to learn more about the culture and improve my language. Seeking relaxation, escape from everyday life stress. This is key. This is key. Right now, if you have a hotel, better have a spa because wellness tourism is big. I remember writing a paper, a book chapter on rural tourism. So rural in the Italian countryside, tourism in the Italian countryside. And one of the main reasons for rural tourism is the idea that people are stressed today. People are really stressed today. You work in the office 10 hours a day, you are stuck in traffic, and you wait for the weekend to go somewhere else. It's super interesting. I'm teaching an international tourism course at UNLV, and the textbook of my students talk about inversion. So when you go to a place where you want to completely inversion, like change your usual pattern. So I'm all day in traffic in the city, pollution, and I want to do the opposite, right? We see inversion a lot in Las Vegas, right? So how does, I always ask it to the student, the person who is always in the office, suit and tie, what do they wear when they come to Vegas? Alaric, hi. What do they wear when they come to Vegas? Flip-flops and shorts, right? Right, exactly. Because it's an inversion, right? It's the opposite. The person who usually at home doesn't have to wear a suit and tie. And at home, I don't know, they can wear shorts, whatever. What do they wear in Vegas? No, the people who wear shorts, exactly, suit and tie. Super interesting, right? They come here to be fancy. In fact, I recognize tourists immediately. When I go on the strip in the winter, I'm like, you didn't know it was cold in Vegas in the winter. I can tell, right? So I remember when someone from LVCVA, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitor Authority, told us in a conference that they did a survey and some people have a Vegas section in their closet. I think you can imagine what's in that. I see lots of glitters, right? So this is something that is very interesting. And relaxation is one of the things that you do when you're stressed. Sightseeing. I want to see the Eiffel Tower. I want to see the Statue of Liberty. I want to see Machu Picchu. So I want to see, and I want to go there because it's always been my dream to see the Colosseum in Rome, right? So sightseeing is a great motivation. Fulfilling spiritual needs, super interesting. One of the oldest forms of contemporary travel is pilgrimage. So pilgrimage is defined as one of the first forms of contemporary travel. So traveling for religious purposes has always been key in the history of tourism. What is interesting is that right now we also see that these spiritual needs are not only going to a church or whatever, but it's also like meditation. There is this big debate around yoga, right? Where in India, people say, is it basically like a religion? It's a religious activity. You guys are commodifying it. So, so it's very interesting. So we see this step from religion, which is still very, very, very popular, modern pilgrimage, but also meditation, spiritual need, which goes hand in hand with relaxation. We are seeing that spas have often a meditation room. Now, we can go on forever, right, with the push factors forever, and we're going to see that in a second also why. Let's talk about pull factors, which are the characteristics of the destinations that attract tourists there. Pull factors result from the attractiveness of the destination perceived by the traveler, right? Whatever you don't like, I might not like, right? So, thank you. So, is that destination attractive for me? Expectations. So what do people coming to Vega expect as the characteristic of the destination? Craziness. The hangover, right? Exactly. And marketing image. So we are going to talk a lot in the next classes of branding, marketing, and destination branding.
Can pull factors be one-offs, or are they ongoing factors? What I mean by that is this: so you have Vegas, who has an ongoing attractiveness of gambling and shows and food. Is the World Cup a full factor as well?
Absolutely.
It's in a limited moment of time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the characteristic of the destination, whatever. So the characteristic of that destination is having one time that thing. So yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So I have a question. So the Raiders Stadium, would that be a pull or a push because it's attractive, but it's also like I gotta support my team?
I was waiting for that question. We're gonna talk about it in a second, okay? We're gonna talk about it in a second.
It does feel like a lot of them are.
Exactly. Exactly. So in a second, I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, very good question. Thank you. So events and activities. John, to answer your question, right? This is a picture of Life is Beautiful, which, by the way, is this weekend I learned. So festival, nightlife, shop. Does that destination have festivals? Yes. Destination have nightlife? Yes. Shopping, yes, it's family friendly, right? We agree that the people going to the Life is Beautiful, that target of traveler is completely different from the target above, right? Do we agree with that? I mean, probably you don't want to take those kids to Life is Beautiful. Maybe you want, it's amazing, but usually it's not that family friendly, My grandma would. Like, yeah. Which can also be a negative factor, meaning I don't want to. Does that destination have nightlife? Yes. Okay, I don't want to go there. I hate the noise in the middle of the night, people going crazy. It's not the place for me. I want to go to. There is no nightlife. Yes. Okay, that's my place. Okay, can be whatever. This is very important. Easy access. We know, for example, there are places in the world right now, places in the world, and today is World Tourism Day. The theme is tourism and peace. So it's very important to talk about it, where there are, unfortunately, conflicts. And those places are really beautiful. They have an amazing heritage, right? Think also of places like Syria, which are really considered like one of the most important sites for heritage. They have some of the most important sites for heritage. Can I go to Syria in this moment? Can I go in one of those places where? So push factors are very important, but if I want to go to a certain place in this moment, maybe I cannot go because simply there is no access, there are no flights there, right? Visa is very important. I'm not gonna be boring here, but I can tell you, like all the topic around, for example, tourist visa for the US, right? Some countries that are considered friend countries have the fortune to have a visa waiver, right? So you can go online and say, Italy is one of those. My parents, they want to come here. Okay, so first of all, no one outside of the US. It's not that my best friends right now, my best friend lives in Milan, can tell me, Marta, I miss you. I want to go on the first plane to the US tonight. She cannot do that. She cannot, okay? So already we understand there is a barrier there, okay? She's lucky. She just needs to do a visa waiver. The visa waiver is, I go online, okay? I answer all the questions. If I answer right to the questions and they are happy with that, I wait a couple of days and they tell me, congratulations, you have a visa waiver for 3 years. Other countries who don't have the visa waiver, they have to go to the consulate and apply for a tourist visa. I think Mexico, for example, has that rule. You have to go to the consulate. It's long. You have to plan it way in advance. And if it's denied, is a problem, right? So in the access of a destination, we see that tourists usually privilege destinations who have an easy access. Right? There are destinations where you can go, but the visa procedure is very, very complicated, right? So Or all this discussion among strong passports and weak passports. Like, I don't know, if you have an American passport, you can travel more. Then you're better welcome than other kinds of passports, right? So money value, currency, right? There are some in the global south, there are some people who cannot travel to the US or to Europe for the currency exchange rate. They cannot, right? For those kind of reasons. So bureaucracy. So the characteristic of the destination is also that boring part of bureaucracy. Is affordable? Is a destination affordable or not? Some people decide just because I'm going there because I went to the travel agency and they told me there is a last minute all-inclusive drinks and food for nothing. For $500 for a week, I'm going, right? Is affordable? Yes. There are some people, maybe you can think they're a snobby, I don't know. They are like, oh, is the destination cheap? I'm not going. I want something fancier. Okay. So, but the characteristic of the destination is also the affordability of it. Okay. So we know that there are some destinations that are really, really expensive and they're not that accessible. Again, we can talk forever about accessibility. That was the theme of World Tourism Day a few years ago. Money accessibility, physical accessibility, right? What about for people on a wheelchair? Is that tourism friendly? Not that much, unfortunately, right? What about accessibility in different way? What about language? In that destination, do they speak English? Unfortunately, this is a factor that really penalized a lot some destinations because they don't speak English and people are not comfortable doing there. This raises bigger questions. But so the characteristic of the destination. Now, to go back to your question, do they overlap? Push and pull factors? Definitely. This is the point of the class where I tell you I spoke for 30 minutes. Forget about everything I say. I don't agree. No, I'm kidding. But I'm a qualitative sociology. I don't like that much definitions. Like putting labels on things. So I'm going to that cheap destination because maybe I'm broke. So is that push or pull, right? Push, I'm broke. Pull is cheap. I don't know. I just came back from Nashville. I love country music and I'm going to Nashville. So the fact that Nashville has the music row is a pull factor. The fact that I love country music is a push one, right? Okay. My husband's family is from Tennessee. So is my push factor, right? So they overlap. And again, sociology is helping me a lot, trying to understand how people behave, how people travel, and understand these overlaps. And so that's very important, I think. But yes, so they overlap. So don't forget about these characteristics. I like for you, as you learn in this path of these classes, these terms. But again, visitors, excursionists, these are very important terms to learn. We are not here doing science, physics, okay? No bottle is gonna explode because we are coding something. But these are very important factors to learn. So I would like to ask you to take 5 minutes, and write down on your computer or on a piece of paper, what do you think are the pull factors of your area? So think of the area where you want to work, right? West Side, the historic West Side, or another. Vegas is very big, but you can also think of Las Vegas and tell me, what do you think are the pull factors that attract tourists? But I want a little bit more, not only that attract already, but that could attract. So the potential, right? For example, I'm sitting here because this project is part of a diversification project with the Economic Development Administration that looks at Las Vegas through the lens of sports tourism now. So not anymore just gambling or convention, there is diversification. What if I told you 6 years ago that we will have the Super Bowl here? Look what happened. Medical tourism. People, apparently, some people are coming to Southern Nevada to undertake some kind of treatment. So think about the characteristics of your destination, write them down, that could attract tourists, okay? And then we're gonna go on and we're gonna go back to what you wrote. So I give you 5 minutes. And I guess how long do we have? 1:30.
About 1:30.
Okay.
So as much time as you want.
Yeah, we have All right, we can. Then I will ask you to share what you wrote, but let's not. Now I want you to think of what you wrote. And now let's go to the next step that is going to help you better define what you just wrote. So now this part of the class is related to the types of tourism or tourism typologies, right? So we studied why do people travel. But there are different kinds of tourism. When I started studying tourism years and years ago, there were several kinds of traditional kinds of tourism. But we will see that definitions today are very flexible, and this is why I like to study tourism. And I explain in a second what it means. But what kinds of tourism do you think exist? What kind of tourism come to your mind? If I say kind of tourism or types of tourism.
So do you mean like cultural tourism?
Yep, exactly.
Sports tourism?
Yep.
Medical tourism?
Mm-hmm.
What about the video? The ones that are vloggers with the camera tour?
Vlog tourism?
Yeah.
Yep.
Convention.
Yep, exactly. So I'm going to give you an overview of these tourism typologies, and let's talk more about it. Because what I want you to understand is that the definitions here and the typologies are endless. So let's start with some classic ones, right? As John said, cultural tourism. What is cultural tourism? Very smart. Great. Great job.
What is cultural tourism?
Whatever you, yeah.
It's the elements that are particular to a group of people that make them distinct from the people around them. And so cultural tourism would be.
Do you want the microphone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. So so culture so the definition of culture then is those elements that are peculiar or unique to a particular group of people. That separates them from surrounding, sets of people. And so cultural tourism then by definition would be going to visit, a distinct group and taking in, the foods, the traditions, the histories, the stories that are attached to that particular group.
Exactly. Which is also defined as, you got the book. Do you know it's also defined?
As cultural tourism?
Cultural tourism or heritage tourism,
Yes.
right? We talk a lot about heritage. It's a super complicated question. What is cultural tourism? We could talk forever. This is why I'm not a fan of coming here telling you, hey, this is cultural tourism. You tell me, right? I don't know. What is cultural tourism for me is different. There are definitions. We have a picture, right? The classic, the traditional view of cultural tourism is museums, monuments, right? The food. But then we have food tourism, which is a subcategory, right? So that's very interesting. Heritage tourism and
Doesn't heritage tourism imply the past though?
yes.
Now, what about cultural elements that are either more contemporary or more future leading?
Yes, it's all about the key word when it comes to heritage and culture is interpretation. Okay, so how those are interpreted by the people promoting tourism. But yes, of course, is the Instagram tours they are doing now cultural tourism? Right, my best is the Instagrammers could be defined as a subculture in sociology, I will say, so can be. It's very tricky, right? It's for you, it's fine, no one is, if a student wrote in a paper for me, Instagram tourism can be a form of cultural tourism. Yes, why not? So yes, can be absolutely. It's very, very broad. And again, some people say that basically the majority of kind of tourism is cultural because food, whatever, right? So that's it's very interesting also because cultural tourism now it's getting a little bit better in being more democratized. But when I remember when I started studying cultural tourism, it was the one that was considered intimidating, right? Oh, it's a museum, so it's not for everyone. Well, that's not true, right? It depends on how the museum is managed and the interpretation activities there. But what I want you to understand today is that cultural tourism and tourism in general can literally be everything. So one of my main studies and one of my main passions is that in today's society, everything can become a tourist attraction. If we want to adopt a more critical perspective from sociology, like Marxist perspective and neo-Marxist perspective, we see that everything, and that's not always that great, becomes a product to be sold, commodified. So, for example, dark tourism. I study dark tourism. By the way, Elias, if you are interested, I just published a book chapter. I just got the book like last week at home on cemetery tourism. If you want, I can talk. If you want, we can have we can set up another extra lecture and I can talk about it if you're interested. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, cemetery tourism. This is one of my favorite examples. So one of my main areas of study is dark tourism, which is called also death tourism. That is still a kind of heritage tourism and cultural tourism. I studied a lot Hollywood cemeteries, meaning the cemetery tourism in the cemeteries where the stars are buried, meaning spending hours and hours in front of Michael Jackson burial site and see how tourists behave there. There are people who come from all over the world to pay respect to Michael Jackson, to Elizabeth Taylor, to Marilyn Monroe, right? So I wrote my first publication, academic paper, was on Hollywood cemetery tourism, right? Is the purpose of a cemetery to be a tourist attraction? No. But in today's society, even cemeteries, there are crazy ethical considerations when it comes to dark tourism. Crazy. Think of the houses of serial killers who are becoming tourist attractions, where people go and take selfies. Places where tragedy happened, people take selfies. When we had the big cruise ship drowning in Italy, tragedy, bunch of people dead, was a super big cruise ship, like around 15 years ago. Super big cruise ship, took months to take it out. Everyone was going there, taking selfie with the place, right? Do you remember what happened with the Titanic submarine? To the point that people got were in such a dangerous situation. So this is why I'm telling you, be creative, because in today's, I'm seeing that everything can become a tourist attraction, which can be super good, can be super good, can also be bad when it comes to ethical consideration in this case, right? What about Dallas and the area where JFK was killed? It's a crazy tourism attraction.
Like where Tupac was killed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tupac was killed, like close to UNLV.
Flamingo. Yeah.
On Flamingo, exactly. People taking tours that celebrate serial killers. There is, if you're interested in the topic, there is a super interesting Netflix series called The Dark Tourist, where this guy from, I think he's from New Zealand or Australia, I can't remember, goes around sites all over the US, all over the world, I'm sorry. He goes to the JFK killing sites and goes to, I think, I don't know, several places. But one that was particularly interesting that I showed to my students is he goes to Japan in the area where the nuclear... there was a nuclear explosion. Fukushima recently. And it's a ghost town because there was the earthquake, so made things even worse. There are still is a strongly toxic area. And he shows going on this bus with do you know the radiation detector that beeps? And it's so exciting. I see these tourists that the closer they get, the more it beeps, and they are scared but also excited, right? So it's dark. So it's great. This city is empty. It's a ghost town full of still like, like the earthquake, like it looks like it happened yesterday. So can you imagine that before the war in Ukraine, Chernobyl was becoming a super famous attraction. You have no idea. I used to teach a sociology of leisure and tourism class. My students had to write a paper on a case study. At least every semester, I had one student writing about Chernobyl tourism. So yes, I can tell you that tourism is, if I was here, like the pure academic, is natural, cultural, yes. But it can be, I'm really seeing Atlanta, world of Coca-Cola. A drink, Coke, can become a crazy tourist, I told you probably, if you already took my classes, I come from, my city is San Pellegrino water, sparkling water, green bottle. Okay, it's in my city. The factory is in my hometown. In Italy, it's not fancy at all. It's really fun. In the US, San Pellegrino is fancy. In Italy, it's normal water, sparkling water. There is the big factory, right? Like crazily big factory on the river with the water in the mountains. They are widening an area of the factory to welcome visitors, especially Americans, because, even a factory of water can become a tourist attraction, okay? So think of whatever comes to your mind can become a tourist attraction. And I also want you to think, because it happened to me several times, that I have people in the Tourism Business Igniter or at Nevada Partners telling me, well, I don't own a hotel. Can I be part of the Tourism Business Igniter? Of course. You can tell me your activity, and even if it doesn't look immediately related to tourism, can be in some way, right? So again, dark tourism is this is one of the topics that I know the most. By the way, when this class is over, I don't disappear. Deidre knows I'm always around. You don't get rid of me. So you have my email. I can give you my phone number. If you're interested in this topic and you tell me I want to learn more about dark tourism or whatever, I will be more than happy to share material with you, to talk to you about it. So another topic that I taught a class about it, like last year, like in the spring, film tourism. When I was in Los Angeles studying cemetery tourism, I also studied a lot film tourism, because film tourism is films are a strong tool to promote tourism. And this is super interesting. There are some cases in which a place in the middle of nowhere gets selected for a movie. The movie gets released, and just because there is a small house in that location, they get buses and buses of tourists that even bother the people there. Yeah. The house of Breaking Bad in New Mexico is a normal house, residential house, full of people there. The neighbors are so tired. Mm-hmm. So what does this teach us? That if I ask you, or if I ask my student, or if I ask myself, describe a tourist destination, I will tell you a beautiful place with the sea and the coast and the palms. No, everything. Even I collaborate with an Italian film commission, a film office. Sometimes filmmakers ask us, find us an ugly place. We have to film a horror movie. Do you have a horrible, ugly parking garage where we can film? And that ugly parking garage can become a tourist destination because, I don't know, Brad Pitt was there. Yeah. So think about it as well. It doesn't have to be beautiful, perfect in the middle of the mountains to become a destination, which can be good and can be bad. Because we're going to have this class on community. Sometimes the community didn't even want it, right? Film tourism. I didn't want my neighbor to rent their house for production, and now I cannot even leave my house because there are too many tourists. So there are issues. We're going to talk about it, absolutely. But everything can become like an attraction. So tourism typologies are really endless. Another case study that comes to my mind that is becoming very important, and Katie Duncan is also part of this very, very interesting and I think fascinating trend. House museums. Yes.
Real quick question on film tourism. Are there, I assume there are, but are there instances where the film, because they did pick an ugly place, creates like a negative stereotype or negative energy about that area?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder how many Boys in the Hood kind of movie. Oops. I wonder how many, Boys in the Hood kind of movies actually made things harder on Compton than otherwise, or South Central. Can you speak to that for a second?
Yeah, I have an entire section of research on that because movies can promote a good image, movies can promote a bad image. The case I'm more familiar with is Italy and the mafia. The reputation that Sicily had,
Right.
like people in Sicily were
Napoli,
really
Sicily, yeah.
mad,
Yeah.
right? People are like, can I go to Sicily? Or is like mafia, it's beautiful, go, please go, Sicily is beautiful. And Sicily at some point complain and say, can we stop it?
Can we stop what?
To have like production just showing mafia and mafia and mafia. Right. So absolutely, not only can give a bad reputation to the destination, can create super dangerous stereotypes.
Right.
Super dangerous. So tourists go there with an image in mind that can be very racist sometimes or whatever stereotyped and stigma and go on. So this is in my research on film tourism. I don't know if some of you did or you were there probably in the class. I have an entire section on let's be careful because also this, in some cases, there are people complaining because they say, okay, this was one of the most famous marketing operation, branding management operation in the world, probably. The Hangover really gave, Vegas was already famous, but it's also a sort of image. That so absolutely 100%. They have be very careful. What is the problem? And this is something that my young students often ask me. Why don't filmmakers change the script so they can give a good image? The goal of filmmakers is not tourism. It's not, I mean, they don't care at all. Tourism is the consequence of that. If you want to do a movie about mafia in Sicily, why? I mean, your goal is to make money out of it. And I can talk forever because another research of mine is at the Mob Museum and in Vegas, we have I discover American culture is really fascinated by mobsters. In Italy, we condemn them a lot. So, oh, so cool, you're Italian. Is your family mobsters? No. Oh, I mean, thankfully, but but the goal of the filmmaker of the script or whatever is to make money and sell the movie. And they are not really concerned with that.
So with 2 studios coming to Vegas, should city leaders and perhaps even West Side leaders probably resist the kind of movies that they might shoot from the West Side and the like until the West Side is reestablished and until we get on our feet? Should we resist having movies shot here that depict maybe violence and the like?
That's a very good question, and I think it's a discussion that needs to be done. And it really depends on the stakeholders involved. For example, there are movies that where they cannot find the location sometimes, right? Because no one wants to host them. So it depends. And it depends if the person involved, and I don't know, in this case, if it's the politician. We have an amazing film office, Nevada Film Office. And I know very well Danette, who is one of the managers there, and we spoke a lot about it, right? And they have some kind of decision-making capability, but at the same time, it's really tricky, right? Money is if that, if the money goes to the community or goes to the city or whatever, it's a little bit tricky. Absolutely. So every case is by itself, but is different. But absolutely, it's something we have to talk about it. And if it's the studios, though, what I think they're going to be very interested in filming in the studio. So we're talking about green screens and so on.
Right.
Where at that point, some people define green studios, they're competitors of the real destination. because like you know how many scenes are filmed in Italy, including like some famous scenes from the Wolf of Wall Street. They never went to Portofino, they never went to Italy, it's just a green screen. Again, if you're interested in the topic and you miss my class on film tourism, we can schedule one and we can talk about for 1 hour and 2 hours about film tourism if you like the topic. Deidre, you don't have to come, you already saw that.
I'm already sold.
Yeah.
Already sold.
But you know, so that's something. Let's see what other kind of tourism. Ecotourism, right? Ecotourism usually is related to nature, as we know, and we like to think that ecotourists are responsible, right? They respect the environment. They are. Do you know the problem that Southern Nevada is having with trash in the parks, like Red Rock, Lake Mead, but even US with national, like the Yosemite? It's crazy, like the trash, like littering, tourists throwing the trash on the floor, like how? Well, what's the issue here, right? What's and I have people telling me, can you help us understand why they do that? And I was like, I mean, I'm interested, but I don't even know how to, describe that. So, but in theory, ecotourism ecotourism are nature-oriented, responsible tourism. Here, and this is a topic I'm going to analyze again, we can also talk about, we know that one of the most harmful forms of tourism is mass tourism, right? Big numbers. In Italy, we have over-tourism right now in Venice. It's a super big problem. I can talk forever about over-tourism. In Venice, for example, there are too many tourists. It's harmful for the environment. The prices of all the houses went up. Everyone is Airbnb in their house. So everyone is leaving Venice to Airbnb their house. There are some people who define Venice as a ghost town because a bunch of people do not live there anymore. So there are issues, right? So one of the methods, one of the kinds of tourism that we can use to contrast these trends is called niche tourism. So it's niche, right? Small. And in theory, it's privileging quality over quantity. So higher quality tourists. So I wrote another book chapter on wine tourism in Italy, in the hills close to Venice. It's a very slow kind of tourism, small numbers of people that sometimes have even more money, right? So quality, the money goes there anyways, and is more, in theory, sustainable. The word sustainable is challenged lately. I like to talk about regenerative tourism. We're going to talk more about this again, because we are saying, why don't we measure the quality of the destination rather than just on how much money it makes, but on topics, on standards such as indigenous knowledge inclusion or community involvement. But anyways, niche tourism can be an answer to. So ecotourism can be a form of niche tourism, right? People who are small move in smaller groups rather than the big cruise ship, right? That arrive with thousands of people on it and all go to Venice, which is still a small island, right? So smaller numbers of tourists, high quality, higher level of education. They are really interested in that destination because they chose it, because they love that niche. Can be wine tourism, can architecture, exactly, whatever, right? Yeah, whatever. So architecture is a big trend right now. So yes, absolutely. I was telling you before, house museums are becoming very popular. For example, do you all know Pavarotti, the singer, Italian singer? When he died, they didn't sell his house. They turned it into a museum. Beautiful. You go to Pavarotti's house in the middle of the countryside in Italy. Beautiful place. You see his Grammy Awards, the bed where he died, the place where he loved to cook. And you see increasingly that when someone famous, like a writer or an artist, dies, they turn their house in a museum. Very nice trend. I like it. Not that many people, it's very niche. Oh yeah, absolutely. Palaces. Yes. I just went to Scotland for a conference and I went to the castles. It was beautiful, right? So the Royal Palace was crazy. Beautiful. Rural tourism. Rural tourism is very similar to ecotourism, right? Means tourism usually in the countryside. As I told you, I work a lot with agritourism in Italy. So you stay in the farmhouse. Sometimes you help the farmer, you go make honey, you help making wine, right? So it's a kind of activity that is becoming extremely popular. Adventure tourism, I will not do this.
Uh-oh.
No one else in this room would either.
You would?
No one else in this room would.
Sounds fun. Elias, would you do that? You would do?
Elias would.
Just
Okay.
gotta roll the shark over. That's all you have to do.
What do? You bring candies? I don't know. Like, it's scary. So, anyways, so if you do that, send pictures. I'm gonna use you as a case study. But adventure tourism, right? You have no idea. Again, I prepare a new course for UNLV this year, and I have these textbooks. I have no idea how many tourists die because they undertake super dangerous activities, and they know. A super big trend right now: wildlife selfie. Wildlife selfie is becoming a problem. First of all, they bother the animals, and it's super bad. Second thing is dangerous. People die to take a selfie with a lion.
Crazy.
Okay. So why do people do that?
Crazy.
The thrill, adrenaline movies, okay, whatever. But adventure tourism is not the kind of tourism that is very popular, and it's crazy how many people die to do this stuff, right?
Yeah, there's a mountain in Hawaii. I think there's a couple places like this, but I know in Hawaii there's a mountain with really dangerous cliffs. There's also a naval base, like an abandoned naval base, but the only way up is taking a mile-long staircase. But if you fall, you can die, and people take that as a challenge.
And you know what's fundamental in this trend? Social media. I bet they take pictures doing that. You take a picture. Okay, so we go back to the concept of conspicuous consumption. You remember, I want to show off. I'm cool and swimming with the sharks. I want to show that I'm cool.
Just actually doing something out of the box.
Yeah.
Something different.
There is a term.
Just a challenge.
There is a term which is called thrillertainment, which is the idea of being thrilled when having fun in leisure activities of tourism, which can be even roller coasters, right? Which again recalls the concept of dark tourism to me, because when you walk in a cemetery, when you go in a place of tragedy, right? Dark tourism scholars say that we are really fascinated by death in our society. And especially in Western society, we are really scared of death. So we go to the cemetery, or we go to the place where tragedy happens. We go so close to death as a roller coaster adventure, swimming with the sharks. But in the case of dark tourism, it's not mine. It's someone else's. So dark tourism goes hand in hand with this term thanatosis, which means fascination upon death. So we are fascinated by it. Dark tourism is becoming one of the most popular trends. I go to Hollywood and see how many tours you go on the Starline tour in Hollywood to take the House of the Stars tour. They show you, they stop in front of Michael Jackson house and they show you the place exactly. And I was on a bus last time and took Starline tours is part of my research. Starline tours, the driver took out the picture of Michael Jackson death, being taken out by the ambulance, and he stopped. And exactly here from that gate, this happened. I didn't need to see it. I did not, right? But authenticity is another big topic in tourism. I was there when Michael Jackson died. I was there. I could touch it, right? I could touch the place. Or I'm in front of a cemetery and Marilyn Monroe is right here. Like, her body is there. Authenticity. Let's see if we have other kind of tourism. Oh yeah, medical tourism, as I told you, very popular. Usually is exactly plastic surgery, super big topic. Usually people go because why do they go to certain countries to do plastic surgery? Because it's cheaper, exactly, and that opens the door to a series of health concerns, right? There is more dangerous. At the same time, there are also, not only because it's cheaper, but there are, for example, I know Italian people who have very rare diseases that only get cured by someone in the US. So they come here. So is also the availability of that service, or is it just better, right? Maybe they cure it in your country, but in the US you have the excellence of that doctor, so you want to go there, right? Medical tourism is one of the kinds, is the kind of tourism, probably the one that moves the most amount of people, meaning that usually patients travel with their family. So we are talking about big numbers, and usually they stay for the longest period of time. It's not just a weekend, there is the recovery. So it's very popular and really remunerative because highest number of people, like longest stay. Business tourism. We are in Vegas, right? One of the capitals of business tourism. What is business tourism? Whatever you feel like it falls under the umbrella. Think conventions, think conferences. As a professor, as a researcher, I have to travel for conferences, right? It's part of my requirements. I have to do that. Trade shows, or as I told you, I don't know, Ferrari has an office in Vegas and they have a new software, and they're sending someone from Italy to teach about the new software in Vegas. So that's kind of business tourism. Or Italy is super popular for food imports, right? So I know a bunch of people who come to Vegas for 2 weeks. They tour the restaurants, I don't know, on the East Coast or the West Coast with their wine, and they try to sell it, so on. There is a big trend right now that I told them the other day, because it's called Bleisure, which is the fusion between business and leisure, which means that, answer this question, please. The manager coming to Vegas, do they only go to the convention center, and when you're done at 5 p.m., they go to bed? No.
No, they go to the casino, they go to the strip club.
Yep, exactly. They go to a game now, they have their sports. So it's bleisure, like business plus leisure, which is because they are noticing an increase in the people who extend their stay to the weekend, for example. So my conference ends on Friday, I'm going to leave on Sunday. It happens all the time. Gastronomy tourism, that can still be part of cultural tourism. You know, all of you know that I've been conducting research in the historic West Side for 2 years now, interviewing people. Gastronomy tourism, food tourism is the main element that comes up when I ask people, how do you see cultural tourism in the West Side? A bunch of people say we have amazing restaurants, we have amazing food opportunities here, we should leverage that. From food trucks to restaurants, you know, is very important. And main research finding from the project I'm doing in the West Side, gastronomy tourism is the main one. Coastal water tourism, very popular, can be again sports tourism, ecotourism, surf. Increasingly, resorts on the coast are selling packages where you buy their room, food, and also a surf class or swimming something, you know, whatever. Sports tourism. Sports tourism, the project I'm doing, I'm dividing sports tourism in Las Vegas in 2 categories. The first one is people coming to Vegas to watch sports, meaning Super Bowl, F1, Aces, Golden Knights, Raiders. So that kind of spectator sports tourism. But also I realized that Southern Nevada is a big hub for sports tourism. Hiking in Red Rock Canyon, biking, water sports, Lake Mead is really a big hub, to the point that I'm conducting a big project. Came out when they told me, you're going to conduct research on sports tourism. I literally only thought of the stadium, right? The Raiders, whatever. Then I thought, we have one of the biggest hubs in the Nevada is a crazily big hub for outdoor recreation. Super popular. Also the Reno area. So that's crucial. That's crucial. There is an accessibility issue. Yes. Do young people in our communities have all of them access to outdoor recreation facilities? No. There is a transportation issue that would be great to bring more kids from the historic West Side, for example, to Lake Mead and Red Rock. Yes. So they are working on that. but it's not an easy topic. Of course, accessibility is an issue. Do we have anything else? Urban city tourism, I don't even have to tell you. Tours of cities, is usually shopping, is usually going to museum, which is still a part of cultural tourism. Food, think of the city, right, which is a little bit the opposite of rural tourism. Mountain tourism, again, it's endless, right? Going to the mountains, ski, both summer in the winter. In the summer you can hike, in the winter you can ski. Education tourism is becoming super important. People going to take cooking classes in France or Italy, or I know a bunch of kids from Italy who come to the US for 2 weeks to learn English every summer, right? Universities are closed, so they stay in the universities and they learn. So traveling to learn something, education tourism is endless. It's really, really endless. Think of how you could contribute to education tourism, because I'm sure that each one of you has something to teach when it comes, and we are in Vegas and we have the tourists. So you just have to think about ideas. Done. Okay. So this was, now I would like for you to revise your destination characteristic with the pull factors after I showed you this, and tell me, what do you think? I can give you another 5 minutes. What do you think can we do in your area? I would love to hear about the West Side, of course, but in your area, what kind of tourism can we do there? And think endless. We have space tourism now, right? Which it would be nice to know if it's safe, and it's not cheap at all. So, but everything. So can you think of, before thinking of your area, can you think of other kinds of tourism? Because there is, I mean, space tourism.
Religious tourism.
Religious tourism, absolutely, absolutely.
Architectural.
Architectural tourism, yes.
Wellness and health tourism.
Well, health tourism, yes, which overlaps with the medical, with the spa, with the meditation, wellness tourism. As always, someone asked me where should I invest. I will say wellness tourism is a very good investment.
Education tourism.
School trips?
Well, when you taking your kid or grandkid to
overnight, yes. Yeah, it's tourism.
But is it education tourism, or is that a different?
I will say it's college visits tours. Can be education tourism, but you're not learning there in that moment. I mean, you're learning about the college, but
Right.
it's like could be like a
Okay.
Yeah, building on that, like folks that are moving, they're gonna move to a new city. Maybe they go check out the city first.
Yeah, look for a house and then they go back. Yeah.
So that would call that like reconnaissance tourism,
Like personal development tourism.
These ain't just gym muscles.
All right.
Gym tourism is a big, big trend. I'm thinking of the Muscle Beach in California, Venice. And I know someone who went to Philadelphia. There is the biggest gym in the world, something like that. I don't know.
Instagram tourism.
Instagram tours are becoming super popular. Do you know that they have a Vegas Instagram tour? Oh yeah, the McDonald's can also become like a museum, in some
art
kind.
And in North
Art.
Carolina, the biggest mall.
Yep, exactly. Yes, yes, absolutely. They're having like a big trend in coffee tourism, where you go in the place where they grow coffee, the plant, and exactly, and it's very authentic, considered authentic, because you drink the coffee while you're there. So it's very interesting. It's like agritourism in Italy. You are in the farm where, to be called agritourism in Italy, for law, you have to serve. Otherwise, you cannot be called like that. You have to serve around 70% of the products of the farm. So if you stay there, when you wake up in the morning and you want to serve jelly, it has to come from the fruit on your farm. Wow. Very similar to the coffee.
I would do occupational tourism. So wherever I would go, I'd always try to visit a fire station.
Yeah.
Wherever I went. So Amsterdam, London, you name it. I want to check out their fire stations.
Yeah, wherever I go, I check out the cemetery.
Not the same. Not the same.
I remember when I was in LA, my parents were calling me, "Hey Marta, hi, how are you? What are you doing today?" "I'm going on a cemetery tour." "Can you do something else?" "No."
I think for me, that's co-working spaces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Like, what are you doing on vacation? Oh, I found a new office.
Right.
What about civil rights tours? Like the civil rights trail in the South is one of the most successful trends at the moment.
How about the
Like,
Green Book
Green Book. There is a
Are you looking at my notes?
No.
there is a super interesting podcast called Driving the Green Book. Listen to it. I love it. And they went to not all, but a bunch of places. Super interesting. Super interesting.
That's Jackson Street, listed in the Green Book in the 40s.
One of the most important quotes that we have in the research paper on the Historic West Side is someone saying civil rights was not only a phenomenon in the South.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
no.
But when you think of civil rights, really you think of the South. This is what we are saying. What about Las Vegas?
Oh, no. I talk to Ruby Duncan twice a week. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
But that's, yeah. Yeah, because it's still Mississippi of the West.
So that's to say that
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh.
if maybe you talk with some stricter and more serious professor of tourism, they will tell you cultural, sports, nature, but everything can become a tourism destination. So I saw crazy things becoming tourist destination that you're like tourist attractions. Crazy, you will say, how is it possible, right? It becomes a tourist attraction. It does. I just took my friends to the area close to Area 51.
Right.
There's nothing there, right? They built everything on. They have like the alien hot sauce at the gas station. The attractions there is supposed to be aliens, and it's not that you see aliens, right? There is almost like it's just an intangible thing. But look what they did. Is the desert? Nothing. It's not that there is a beautiful monument. There is nothing.
Yeah.
It's the alien center that sells alien beef jerky.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think alien jerky. I don't think it's true alien. I mean, I hope not. I don't know. I don't know. But okay, so be creative. That also helps. And this is why these classes were born. Because sometimes I have our entrepreneurs, like I have people telling me, "Hey, I make T-shirt. I would love to be part of the Tourism Business Igniter, but making T-shirt is not part of tourism." And I'm like, that's not true. Be creative. You can make souvenirs on your T-shirt. Like, collaborate with Deidre and do the Jackson, like, exactly, like collaborate is fundamental. Everyone. Think of hairstylists, right? They can go in the rooms in the strip to do like preparing for bachelorette parties, weddings. So everyone. As I always say, if you have something, talk to me. I will find your connection with tourism. Okay, so now please write down the tourism typologies that you think in your area where you want to operate. And yeah, I give you like 5 minutes. What is Elias, do you see? Thank you for the pictures. You know what? All right, so do we have any ideas? So first of all, if you could introduce yourself. So I waited to do the introductions because I would love to hear who you are and your ideas at the same time. So Deidre, do you want to start?